On August 17th, about 4 months ago, I sent Prime Minister Albanese of Australia a letter in which I gave him warning. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. Warning.
Okay, thank you. Huh?
How many?
One, it's enough. Just to feel Hanukkah. Oh! Oh mon gros! Oh!
I survived October 7th. I lived in Israel the last 13 years. We came here only 2 weeks ago to work with the Jewish community to fight anti-Semitism, to fight this bloodthirsty, ravaging hatred.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
And you don't know how you got shot or hurt?
I know I got hit in the head. I'm bleeding.
You lost a lot of blood.
I've lost blood.
Something's off about this and you know it.
We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
This is Mossad's old office. Its motto from Proverbs 24:6 says in so many words, wage war through deception and trickery.
On December 14, 2025, in Bondi Beach, Australia, during the first day of Hanukkah, as members of the Jewish community gathered to celebrate, two gunmen, a father and a son duo, opened fire in what's being labeled one of Australia's deadliest mass shootings in its history. The developments are still ongoing, but as of this recording, there are 16 dead and around 43 injured. The father has been identified as Sajid Akram, a 50-year-old licensed firearms holder with 6 guns. Sajid died at the scene. His son Naveed Akram, 24 years old, according to reports, remains in hospital under police guard after being wounded in a shootout with police in which his father was killed. As the details quickly unfolded, CCTV footage captured the moment the men put into action their plan to massacre Sydney's Jewish community on Sunday. The men had told the family that they were on a fishing trip in Jervis Bay over the weekend, but the pair were actually staying up in a small gray brick home in Campsie. The short-term rental lets out rooms to travelers by the night. Naveed had called his mother hours before the shooting. Quote, "We're going to stay home now because it's very hot," his mother recalls, only for the two men to be caught on CCTV loading their vehicle and taking off. After about a 40-minute drive, the two reached their destination and everything unfolded. Now, in the lead up to the attack, neither Naveed nor his father were on the terrorism watch list. In fact, his mother told reporters that her son used to work as a bricklayer, and that, quote, "anyone would wish to have a son like my son. He's a good boy." Naveed's former employer, according to reports, said that he was a hard worker who never took time off. Details would emerge shortly after that the 24-year-old came under the attention of the Australian Security Intelligence Organization in October 2019. He was examined for 6 months because of his alleged associations with others, with the Australian broadcaster ABC reporting claims that the counter-terror investigation involved an Islamic State cell. Not long before the attack, the father and son traveled to the Philippines to receive, quote, military-style training, returning around late November. The Philippines happens to be one of the few areas where an East Asian faction of ISIS is active. Reports also mention that the father-son duo had 2 homemade ISIS flags found in the car. The father and son are said to be Muslims with Indian origins, although the son, Naveed, is an Australian-born citizen, while his father arrived in 1998 on a student visa. With the long-standing conflicts in the Middle East and the media's ongoing agenda to pit groups against each other, in this case Muslims and Jews, it came as a surprise when details emerged that one of the men who actually intervened by tackling and successfully disarming Sajid Akram was an Australian Syrian Muslim man by the name of Ahmed al-Ahmed. However, before the hero was named in a press conference, Netanyahu mistakenly claimed that the hero was a Jewish man.
ראינו את הרוע בשפלותו, וראינו גם גבורה יהודית בשיאה. אני ראיתי בדרך הנה סרטון של יהודי שמתנפל על אחד המרצחים, שומט ממנו את הנשק ומציל מי יודע כמה נפשות.
With the story out of the way, let's address the conspiracies floating around. As you saw from the clip I shared in the beginning, Israel's intelligence agency Mossad openly shared how they use the world as their stage. It's like a production to them, crafting narratives and giving them the ability to fulfill their agendas. I've shared before how the Mossad's motto literally states, "By subterfuge will you wage war," subterfuge being a synonym for deception. Now, why is this relevant? Well, of course, it was the Jewish community that was the target of this deadly attack. It just so happens months before, Australia, along with several other nations such as Canada and the UK, decided to recognize the state of Palestine. Also, a year prior, there were reports of a rise in anti-Semitic attacks against Australia's Jewish community. Incidents of synagogues and cars being torched, businesses and homes vandalized with graffiti. But more recently, on August 3rd, 2025, Australia saw one of its largest pro-Palestine protests, with reports of over 100,000 people walking across the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is important to state considering that over the past 2 years of Israel's ongoing genocide of the Palestinians, Australians have been increasingly changing their stance towards the occupying nation, with a survey finding that 57% of respondents are in favor of imposing the same kinds of sanctions that the nation does to Russia, but for Israel as well. Support for the quote-unquote only democracy in the Middle East has fallen since the aftermath of October 7th around the world, particularly in Western nations, and not for the same reason by everyone, but that's regardless of the fact that with all the increasing scrutiny that the state of Israel is facing, they might have to swing the narrative back in their favor, or at least do something to have that happen.
In which I gave him warning.
We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
Now, this is purely speculation, but there is certainly fair ground to speculate that the idea that this very tragic incident could be a false flag incident involving several parties in coordination. Prime Minister Netanyahu, months before the Bondi Beach attack, warned Australia's leaders about the dangers of failing to take action against anti-Semitism. He claimed Australia's decision, in line with scores of other countries, to recognize a Palestinian state, quote, pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. Is it entirely impossible that this very event is being used as a way to sway Australians into having more sympathy toward the Jewish community as a whole, and in turn the Jewish homeland that is Israel? Then again, there are always multiple angles when it comes to a story like this. Australia is already a nation with historically strict gun laws dating back to 1996, but after the large number of deaths following the Bondi Beach attack, the government made swift steps to stiffen up its gun laws, almost like they had it prepared in advance and just needed the perfect reason to justify reform. The following changes will involve things like renegotiating the National Firearms Agreement, which was enacted in 1996 and established Australia's restrictive gun laws, use more criminal intelligence in the firearms licensing process, limit the number of guns one person can own, and so on and so forth. This comes at a time when our world, almost wherever you go, especially since the pandemic, is noticing a rise in government control, overreach, increased surveillance, a major push for digital IDs, universal basic income, and all that essentially involves overarching control by the wealthy elites. It's incidents like this that, through the guise of tragedy, push forward their own internal agendas. In this case, three main things appear to be motives for this type of incident. 1. Shift global public opinion toward the Jewish community. Have them sympathize at a time when they're losing public favorability. 2. Further fuel the notion in the West that Muslims and Jews are forever at war, justifying the Islamic terrorist agenda despite a Muslim man intervening and being labeled a hero. And number 3, enact stricter gun laws on Australian citizens, further removing the average person's ability to bear arms in their nation. Now, the internet, as per usual, has people combing through the narrative, and posts are going viral left and right. An example is this Facebook page of a Jewish man by the name of David Cohen, who appears to be the real identity of Naveed Akram, the shooter at Bondi Beach. Now, with the times we're in though, it's very possible it's just photoshopped or edited, but with all the potential reasons for why they would want to cause something like this, it's not completely out of the question that this could be real. It certainly wouldn't be the first time Israel's used agents or spies to infiltrate or stir controversy. Then there was the clip of the victim Arsen Ostrowski, who was interviewed by local media with blood covering his bandaged head. Debates are going around as a photo surfaced of him having a makeup artist put fake blood on his face, further implying this was all staged. Again, much like the David Cohen Facebook page thing, it's tough to authenticate it. However, it's definitely odd for him to be covered in a bandage without having his face cleaned off. And that alone gives people more reason to believe that this is some sort of crisis actor situation.
We're the directors, we're the producers, we're the main actors. We're the main actors.
I survived October 7. I lived in Israel the last 13 years. We came here only 2 weeks ago to work with the Jewish community, to fight anti-Semitism, to fight this bloodthirsty, ravaging hatred.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
We're the main actors.
Also, isn't it pretty strange that Arsen decided to take a bloody selfie while he's witnessing a major massacre against his people? I mean,
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Arsen is the CEO of the International Legal Forum, an Israel-based NGO. His main priority is protecting Israel's image on an international basis. He often associates himself with the term lawfare, which is like legal warfare, if you will. It's defined as the strategic use of legal proceedings to intimidate or hinder an opponent, something their people are known for exercising. Now, when you consider the main reasons I've suggested this event might have been orchestrated, it's hard not to think about how convenient it was that Mr. Ostrowski happened to be at both October 7th and the Bondi Beach attack. A man dedicated to making sure Israel remains legitimate in the eyes of the international courts is at both major events that were meant to garner support for a Jewish state and people. Like the former Mossad agent said,
We're the directors, we're the producers, we're the main actors.
Clearly, Arsen and the Israeli government are going to use this incident to create more legal safeguards for the Jewish community by sparking the event to justify it.
He and his family moved to Australia just weeks ago from Israel.
Having seen the horrors of the last 2 years in Israel, thinking that we'd be coming here to a safe place, and then having to flee for our lives.
And truly, the media clearly wants this to be seen by the masses, further fueling the anti-Semitism victim narrative. The reality is, Zionism itself thrives off anti-Semitism. Without it, it provides little so-called justification for their gruesome actions as a nation. Take, for example, that rise in anti-Semitic attacks throughout Australia that I mentioned earlier. On January 21st, 2025, the BBC reported anti-Semitic crimes may be funded overseas, says Australian police. Australia's federal police have said that they are investigating whether, quote, overseas actors or individuals are paying local criminals to carry out anti-Semitic crimes in the country. There has been a spat of such incidents in recent months, the latest of which saw a child care center in Sydney set alight and sprayed with anti-Jewish graffiti, but no one was injured. Albanese said it appeared some of the crimes were, quote, being perpetrated by people who don't have a particular issue, aren't motivated by an ideology, but are paid actors. Now, it's unclear who or where the payments are coming from. He told reporters on Wednesday. Australia Federal Police Commissioner Reece Kershaw said it was possible that cryptocurrencies, which can take longer to identify, had been used. So really, you gotta wonder who would be paying those individuals to commit these kinds of crimes, and who would really benefit off tragedies directed toward the Jewish community.
Australia, a letter in which I gave him warning, 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 warning.
Okay, so now that you have an idea of what happened on December 14th at Bondi Beach and the potential reasons as to why such a tragic event might possibly be a smokescreen to push agendas by particular parties with very specific interests, let's dive into the numbers using the practice of English gematria to decipher a pattern that gives us an idea of how this event might have been orchestrated from the beginning, from the locations, suspects, timing, etc. For those new to this, English gematria is a practice derived from Kabbalah, aka Jewish mysticism. It's the process of assigning a numerical value to each letter of the alphabet, and through a 4-base cipher system, you'll notice how names, sentences, and phrases all hold numeric values. These get paired with the date numerology, allowing for patterns to emerge that help tell a hidden story behind the surface. Let's start with the fact that this occurred on the first day of Hanukkah, a Jewish holiday in the nation of Australia. Notice that both Australia and Hanukkah equate to 30 in the reduction cipher. This is being labeled as both a mass shooting and a terror attack, particularly against the Jewish community. Notice it happened on a date with 51 numerology, matching with mass shooting, terror attack, and Jews. The shooting occurred at the popular Bondi Beach during the Jewish community's ritual celebration. See how Bondi Beach and Jewish community equate to 207 in the ordinal ciphers? Note that in numerology, zeros are null, meaning 207 becomes 27, aligning with the word ritual. When using gematria and having it to decipher these types of events, you'll notice how they often link to government and political leaders of the area where the incident occurs. In this case, we're looking at Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Notice this incident happened 78 days before his upcoming birthday, matching his first and last name, as well as Sunday, the day of the tragedy. If you calculate that same time span, December 14, 2025 to March 2nd, 2026, his upcoming birthday, in weeks and days, it's 11 weeks and 1 day, like the number 111, matching with the Prime Minister's full birth name. Now, of course, it was Prime Minister of Israel Netanyahu who had warned Australia's leaders of the growing rise of anti-Semitism and the effects it could have if Australia didn't get on top of it. Only for 54 days to go by from Netanyahu's 76th birthday to the deadly shooting at Bondi Beach. Throughout this video, I've shown a clip of Netanyahu talking about a letter he sent to Anthony Albanese on August 17th of 2025, which was 119 days from the Bondi Beach Hanukkah shooting. Notice that that phrase equates to 119. So think about it, exactly 119 days after Benjamin Netanyahu sent a warning letter to the Prime Minister of Australia, they have a massive shooting at Bondi Beach on the first day of Hanukkah? Yeah, Now, you've probably noticed, or will begin to notice, how October 7th is often brought up in light of the Bondi Beach massacre.
I survived October 7th. I lived in Israel the last 13 years. We came here only 2 weeks ago to work with the Jewish community to fight anti-Semitism, to fight this bloodthirsty, ravaging hatred.
And it's not by coincidence. Ultimately, a lot of people suspect that this is a false flag or some sort of psychological operation. And it's quite interesting to note that from October 7, 2023 to December 14th, 2025 is 114 weeks. This aligns with the phrase psychological operation, which equals 114 in the most pure cipher. Now, on top of that, October 7th, much like December 14th, 2025, were both Jewish holidays. You know, and it's just a little interesting that both of these tragedies occurred on a Jewish holiday, and they were different holidays to be fair, but it seems as if, you know, these days when there is some sort of Jewish holiday, or at least when, you know, some sort of massacre happens to the Jewish people, it happens to be on one of their holidays. Almost like a way of guilt tripping the masses more, like, see, oh my God, this always happens when we're, you know, doing something holy and just trying to be good people, and, you know, we get targeted by these terrorists. Right? That's kind of the thing. So anyways, you could see that Jewish holiday and blood sacrifice equate to 67 by no coincidence. Remember, this happened shortly after Australia recognized the state of Palestine, what Israel describes as the Jewish people's sworn enemy to their sovereignty. To be precise, 84 days before the attack, the country decided to make this decision. And what do you know? On a Sunday, we hear of a terror attack. Notice Sunday and terror attack along with Zionism equate to 84. This is certainly no coincidence. Just an interesting fact, why was it that 3 major Commonwealth nations decided to recognize the state of Palestine on the same day, September 21st, 2025? Could it be that it was planned by the numbers? Notice September 21st leaves 101 days in the year, and Palestine in the most basic cipher equates to 101. Now, some quick observations surrounding the gunman and the hero. Note, it was Ahmed al-Ahmed who took down Sajid Akram, the father. Now, what are the odds that out of the 2 gunmen whom Ahmed tackled, it was the one whose name holds the value of 75, just like his name in the 4 base ciphers? In light of speculations of a false flag, note the deceased gunman and father, Sajid Akram's name, holds the value of 33 in the same cipher as false flag and matches with Sunday, the day of the shooting. Note Naveed, the one still alive, his first name equates to 24 in the reduction cipher, matching his age at the time of this incident. Plus, in the ordinal cipher, Naveed equates to 51, matching these words we discussed earlier. In gematria, the word dead equates to 14, and it so happened that this event transpired on the 14th of December. As of now, the story is still developing, so we'll have to wait for new details to emerge, but that's what I wanted to cover for now. Remember, do your own research, stay open-minded, and get yourselves right. It's been your boy Script, and I'm out of here. Peace. 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 Peace.